Although I would like to ask for help from Native Americans through other people. I don't want to bother the Native Americans who will help for identity of the ground, relationship to native actual value of fact treatment nature, where we don't have to debate physical delusions and criminally foreign influence fact treatments and sequence shifts styles. Because this is interstates uses of what is intercampuses in a way that is identity of the ground, relationship to each integrity of correlation nature's relationship to what Al missed. And when they force this sustain, because these one thing they have in common are behavior crimes. And see, that's what people are asking for release from distinctly and non-distinctly wrong, not by accident. Blaming the wrong, within maintains the defenses of fact treatments and fact treatment nature quality that it can't be defended and anyone self from being from what exploited originally still had value, even our American history valued told through criminal insidiousness specifically, not until I understood or even known, realized that it's recorded all kinds of crazy laws against everyone, where every single person was a slave. That was before any of the sophistication of those physical positions. Rolls with that, rolls with litigation, all that agreements with what laid the cable, the transatlantic cable. That's right with the Civil War. All those people were just victim predators from a semi-ancient since before modern religions, leaders. Jesus says, "Hallowed be thy name." E is the only word, the only letter, hollow. The alphabet has an identity of relationship to itself that little rap guy and friends will teach about. And but they're also we're gonna have to work on the identity of the ground has ties to our quality of fact treatment nature as a nature of volume. Only the extent of this is debatable. Adam and Eve, for example, uh, uh, alpha is a subsection of that, and Romulus is a subsection of alpha. Romulus and Remus, because it is inseparable, and yin yang stays value because at the same time with each trinity is an identity that is five onto itself, onto all parts of itself. Before the value of the cell nucleus, not a lawyer, not a doctor, not a police form, I'm an expert on the nature of English grammar, which is an expert on the nature of space. Space is value, which is invisible because it's bigger. Its value is bigger than it. It fills all parts of it. And English was revealed to teach about the sciences, the identity the sciences share demonstrably. Algebra. Allah's name is about how we are grouped. The languages are individually grouped and together bonded distinctly and non-distinctly for the reaction nature that identity nature is. So where Alpha, Romulus and Remus And Adam and Eve, Adam and Eve is progressive nature of volume, which is this Trinity, which is this with the pattern of three. See, so there are proofs that the ancients referred to three natures of zero as the nature numbers. And with with this complete identity in it, the one that's making it's already filled us completely. And it has even two more complete natures of complete possession over space, because those two connections are the simultaneous nature value. See that? So everything is simultaneously valued because of simultaneous nature. Nature as an identity and as an identity's relationship to itself. So we discern the identity, and so we discern the nature. And now, so we're discerned. This is about the identity of positive. Now, criminal insidious has your different takes on positive, which was legalized, but it was criminally legalized. We have all evidential reception natures personally grouped in together, originally and still recorded, forced to entertain what it was is unentertainable, and our own defenses at the same time. I just remind. Who'll train? Turn this game. It only feels like game when way alone. It even wars and hurts not one but win. It's an identity of relationship it has. The simultaneous nature, everything nature. We're not supposed to agree on the same name. If we're going to have in other words, value G, God, that's G slash small G slash big G. What we think is true always as the identity of that. See now, and then we all agree, and then we're not sure about, and then you even have to be not sure about your takes, not just on the name of God. That's in relationship to an organized crime conversation where there was criminal insidiousness involved with what? States and areas. What else? Intercampuses. Campus Marcius was criminally re-engineered since before the time of the messengers of modern religions. What revealed its magnitude and glory as what was positive, temporary / lasting, that reveals the fruits and gifts of evolution. That came from before semi-ancient times. This just reminds what claimed to be positive since then use time treatments for justifications of that. Always use valuing time too fast, too slow being used to get over on humanity. Collusion with a whole bunch of every modern nation now locked into this. Grouped suits and ties nations, all child abuse. Each age of each science, each age of each branch simultaneously, and per another simultaneous method, and simultaneous against each age of fact, nature. Just holding those identities locked, needed, defended. Because this is one, all they have to do is keep identities, actual words valued, forsaken, keep each identity to the ground, indifferent to what directors here and there, leaders here and there, forced to enter frustrated reactions. Because not by accident, excuse me, the states and areas often as the value of each nation now. Our investors value nature treatments only capable of fathoming fears, torture, and Worse, persuaded, because what's going to cause negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. Blamed on other things, others themselves. That's the organized crime method that came since before our founders. Took the quality of human fact treatment nature, took the quality of what is science, and brought it to debatable offensively with intersciences maintained. No one realizing all victim predator roles. Offensively with physical delusions, criminally foreign influence, fact treatment nature sensibilities. Now, this is where it's important because it's passions and emotions that they're pretending, and they're affected to it from off the ground of education and on off in sustained ways. And they're using, they're keeping sustained. See, sooner or later, we all need medicine for real, or we all need, they'll try to force medicine on you. They forge names, switch names. They have a whole bunch of criminality associated with pseudo medicine, pseudo medical, involved with all the natures of crimes, because then that was maintained to keep live progressions. Plus, they're involved with all kinds of Justice Department rackets here, there, all modern nations at the same time. So, of course, they're going to have disputes, and they're going to have resolutions that are through identities of legal natures, like the FBI, in relationship to, and sustained needs to police things like streams of money going from to locals, nationals. You see what I'm saying? Investment and value nature systems, all to maintain. Now, see, that is a great thing to have officers or to have people help us if we need, God forbid, anything to happen. See, but there's another nature of organized crime. That is a whole bunch of identity theft, racket means, roles. When they try to establish, oh, this person's friend, they're keeping each identity of the ground offensively used for what is preventing mandated law as the branches of government originally instilled. It's recorded. It's how through generations they demonstrated that they're valuing how intercampuses this sickly distinctly in each city. The worst campuses to the best campuses, sickly non-distinctly too. Everyone missed it. Everyone blames the causes of it on other things, others themselves, and values it, not realizing, they can't defend themselves in relationship to what observation is actually capable of. And so then when those natures of fact treatment nature try to counter, which they force. So we have with the youngest, these are a whole bunch of natures of child abuse that are again simultaneously elderly abuse. This is again a fact treatment nature, completely a pseudo positive self-value method. Maintained uses of identity of the ground, time treatments, everyone wanting and needing to be natural, positive treatment natures. But so we have identity theft racket roles, and then you have, in other words, tied to what is really having facilitated and furthered and maintained, blamed on other things, others themselves, the real causes of overt criminal enterprises, right through nations, because it's keeping the identities of fact treatment nature in collusion, see suits and ties. It's keeping time treatments all of another nature of child abuse that raised them the same way by the same organized crime method that raised the overt criminal enterprises with their actors and their family members needed to hide the same finite, active, and progressive sequence shifts. Identity theft crime acts roles tucked into recorded sustained acting used for using criminal uses of the rights in the law that says that that police forms have the rights to lie and stuff like that. See, but they've been using it for what maintained their roles leading up to and in the Trade Center attack. Had nothing to do. See, these are other motivations, natures, needs, and roles with what is intercampuses, intercities of all ages connected because it maintains uses of the value of time treatments of fact-treating nature in relationship to what keeps each nature or volume frustrated reactions with time and with the quality force suit and tide not worthless. That's why they progress nuclear weapons never connect how we're a species. We could just go boom, 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 and for free. Counter the tactically denatured relationship to nature means actual since some ancient times. It's just your mind. Then who fights? They have water. Everything conform to value nature systems. We have to have reliefs of nature simultaneous. Understanding the nature of organized crime that has each physical position of the ground, each nature of industry all gather round. Invested as a fact treatment nature racket, breaching screen and tool. So they know they have to keep sustained. The state scenarios on the mass quality of fact treatment nature in relationship to the uses of the identity of the law and the justifications. The offensive evidence reception crime needed and perpetrated by interbranch various natures of courts, various natures of police forms, various natures of database tied clicks, private, overt criminal enterprises, fire departments, all intercampuses of each age, shared policing of each age of each branch, child abuse through this, through uses of the identity of the ground's native relationship to our quality of native fact-keeping nature. So criminal insidiousness, no, not free speech, since some ancient times and worse, so still tortured. Sickly and non-distinctly each identity of location, not and of each city. Sickly distinctly to keep all sickly non-distinctly discerned by all simultaneously. No. What's not doing that is valuing with their fact treatment, no nature, no, what quality fact treatment nature that can't be valued and freedom at the same time. I just remind the recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Criminally foreign influence teaching of American history. Tricks like all pretending, oh, I'm trying to see if they read or not. You know, we have to pull the basic out. So one thing we could do, I want to make the gaming system for the people and for the locations most forsaken. And I want native forsaken to help to make the right to make the to do that with, in other words, the homeless. A self consensus, like, in other words, species coach. We could all just realize nations what we could do if we admit that and demonstrate it's recorded. All victim predators, valuing what you can't value, fact treating nature wise, as especially as a system. This is the nature of volume. This is identity as the order to the identity as the nature of volume, as a nature of volume / the nature of volume, because it's more and more value. So Romulus and Remus are more and more valued, understanding that identity of the ground relationship that our nature has, that both sexes have, in the value of what is alpha, what is omega. And that is and that is simultaneously where it has and how there is always yin yang bigger than that. It goes out, it goes complete, and then it's the quality of the fusion. It's the state, position, relationship, the quality of fact, treatment, nature, identity of the grounds, relation to fact, treatment, nature. How we have shared policing has an identity of a phenomenon manifest in relationship to the identity of the ground positions. Manifest worse than the suits and ties. Manifest characters that we're going to bring into this game, so we could discern it, not to hurt. In other words, to blame nothing but what's make keeping unfathomable means to reliefs at once, because what is needed for reliefs at once are simultaneous, so many just natures of reliefs that not by accident, because they have each position of fact treatment nature recorded. They're forcing retreat or frustrated reactions. Then what are you going to do? You're going to justify the ones in the past. Same thing, because they keep it personal. They keep position. In other words, you have to understand how leadership positions are forced knave by states and areas, and you have to understand how everyone is child abused, and how that is maintained self-value. For example, self-valuing everyone, blaming other things other than themselves for what is really simultaneously tricked, hurt, persuaded, forced, and worse, entertained, private, juxtaposed, overt criminal enterprises, left military. Our founders didn't have free speech, but to an extent. Unity was his negative value in those contexts. That's why they still have criminally foreign influence takes on American history. Uses of behavior. That's a when you're lying, you're a behavior. When you attach that to uses of that with the evidence crimes, you're a behavior predator. We have original still evidence predators, how they were victims, child abused, to be understood, because that was by the organized crime method that has them still used individually, grouped and together, because they use interfamily members, everything, because they have the identity of the ground, time treatment values in relationship to little things that become back and significant after, like Joshua Julian, people associated with they already were and are involved with what they need to keep hidden, and they need to exploit their inherent statutes, whereas their fake sides, they fight about things that are reliant upon treatments of what is positive, what has integrity. But see, positive hasn't had free speech since pounding drums. Without this, that's why they're just so innocent. I mean, they're just so nonchalant. War. Build, we can make them, their species agrees. One way, just freeze. Who disbelieves? Or just we draw that, and we just draw it back. We draw an identity relationship to the ground. We give reliefs to everything, every nation at once. Then we could afford to do it. We could afford to use our strength before we're gone for the future. The criminally foreign influence branches that won't admit that originally and still, that can't tell our American history. They can't make proper fact treatment. You can't defend ourselves from what is recorded. Each campus I went to with the same interbranch, intermilitary, criminally foreign influence, a whole bunch of nations. And that's relevant because it's tied to them criminally using identity of the ground. I'll gather around. So now what they have to do is set people up, have them come into their courts, and use those courts as weapons. People with the jails, their family members too, victim predators, maintain needing to hide, already having been self-valued with evidence reception roles, treatments of reality, database crime roles, identity of the ground to vacuum nature, a whole bunch of nature's identity theft crime acts roles, sequence shift crime acts roles, facilitated the people to the jobs, what they call job, what they call value. That's one of the crime method roles. With all those involved, with what you uses, with statutes they say they could do. If leaders tell them they could do it and stuff like that, but they can't. In other words, evidence rackets, predicate acts, mail crime rules, wire crime rules, uses of the Wethersfield Police Department, uses of medical corruption for abuses of each age of fact treatment, a whole bunch of natures and courts tied to the criminality with it. Has nothing to do, that has to do with their lie progressions. It has to do with their actually recorded offensive evidence reception crimes, identity theft crimes against people. This is also tied to their off campuses, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, maintained on off campuses crimes through time with a whole bunch of nations. Russians against Russians, Americans against Americans, as the people who fight against our nation, because they're all grouped sick. Individually grouped and together, they don't let free speech. They don't let religion. That's why they're up with, cloaked in it, because they're not letting free speech. You try to get these crackpots online to follow mandated law, to respond. Fake news stole my identity to a fake conversation with them. Whole bunch of fake news crime acts. Because they had to hide lie progressions from people who pretended conversation with me. Whole bunch of evidences, crime acts rolls again with offensive evidence reception predators. And then crimes in cases like post-dated documents from inside the Ninth Circuit, shown right to the panel of judges in the Ninth Circuit in Manhattan right before the Trade Center attack. Those people were all first interstates, interbranch Connecticut intercampuses crime acts rolled. Those are ones trial with child offenders from also Newtown, Sandy Hook, tied to the child campuses in my town and intercities through time. Criminal uses of it. Each age of campus too. Each nature of campus, even fire departments, even medical campuses, and the locations on and off these campuses with criminally used tie. See, but we don't have quality of fact treatment nature in relationship to those differences and time treatments that are capable of defending us with the BS at that level. Baloney. Criminal seditious nature roles in criminal collusion. See, even though this hasn't been proven, it's recorded. So we need mandated law. So we need federal stewardships of the states and areas of modern nations at once. We need to force states and areas and leaders to be able to fathom, to help us liberate what they're forced to pretend. They're forcing President Trump to pretend positive. They're forcing every single individual on this planet. If if President Obama had free speech, we would have just simply drawn this map. You know, then so this is what we do. Then we do. We know that. So we use cameras. So, we we set up the meet. In other words, we just need it set up. The forsaken locations drawn admitted that at once of each area, and this is we have to know that we're from a tactically nature relationship to nature. If you have water and an ability to connect it to the land in the right way, it reveals evolution. We have all these malls and stuff like that too. They should put. I mean, I don't even want to entertain modern infrastructure. These are identity of the ground, relationship to fact, human nature that you can't defend, and especially let alone glorify, has been sustained insidiously. The fact, human nature, slavery of our founders, the organized. That's the understanding that is correlations, value to its identity, to this of relationship to the identity of value progression that that is three semi-natures onto itself as this three semi-natures that we are in the range of as positive, as a complete identity, like a cell is a complete identity as a semi-nature onto our complete nature. And so we are, or as a cell onto the complete nature of its organ, or of its or of its conjunction to organs, and then our complete identity, because we are like conjunction to a semi-nature that is constantly complete relationship to that. Every individual grouped and all identities of value progression in space at once are bonded by one semi-nature's further complete nature of relationship to itself, that which is self-generating. Earth is what a semi-nature of its identity looks like, where and as and how it's filled all of space with its value, but it still has more value. So space keeps gaining its value too. And that keeps making it have more value. Its complete nature. See, this is a simultaneous nature and demonstration to us of this. As this, we are a natural volume as the natural volume. And the natural volume has one identity of relationship to itself as values nature, as values identity. Its nature is where we come to space's identity, which is a semi-nature, controlled by what reveals evolution's fruits and gifts here as an identity of relationship to itself, as these three value natures as once, as five. Even infinity is contained by this, the infinity that came through temporary / lasting space nature, what generates. So all we have to do is this is areas, states, and nations. But we're going to bring them to the forsaken identity relationship to our species, nature, or volume as actual science, as actual sequence true, as actual integrity, as actual care, as actual means. One way redeems. Because this is again working with the positive beyond our nature, even as it's as and while it is completely the value we are as positive. That's why we have the identity of positive is in demonstration to us why we need clean water, why we need native rights liberated still further to nature, of fact, keeping nature, everyone capable of fathoming. I have to come right in. Excuse me. Capable of fathoming what to do. So that's what we do. We draw. So if there is anyone who who doesn't like where they live and is willing, you know, to let me speak about it, let me know, and I'll present, you know, them a way to work with the ancient gaming system, which is and with YouTube. I don't know about I don't know anybody personally from YouTube. I never spoke with any personally from my knowledge. But if we did like YouTube ground, I'll gather around. In other words, just to one locations, and we have these locations work with what is horizontally through a game. So now we're admitting and we're discerning what if they say they throw up value treatments, for example. We have to deal with how individually grouped and together the branches are identities that are criminally foreign influenced. And we have to understand how identity has a value fast slash value nature relationship to itself that is self generating. That and how we are a quality of diffusion as a reaction nature, not before, while being, and beyond how we are physical. But see, this is being controlled by problems maintained with the areas and online so they can maintain identity theft rackets tied and evidence rackets, databases rackets roles, identity of the ground tied to fact cheaping nature quality racket roles formal originally and still. For example, even as simple as how it's tied to it, valuing how our founders, you know, valuing insidious takes on our founders with free speech that was forced for them for that. You know, the some everyone needs to everyone's invested, reliant upon on value nature systems, natures of what they call jobs, natures of what they call value nature systems that are tactical ulterior from what can save us. Our FBI's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved crimes with Saudi Arabia, with their treatments, with their roles with CCSU, with the news, with their roles with uses of other campuses, UConn, um, Trinity, facilitated to it. A whole bunch of people associated with John Maiano, a whole bunch of people with the Phil Collo with identity thefts, to Mendez police identity thefts, crimes with various nature, police forms, overt criminal enterprises, foreign and domestic, criminal use, crime roles with the officer Jerry Miller, and the witness protection program. And overt criminal enterprises with the Kerr family, recorded, confessed on Facebook. That's why they took my Facebook page. These are also behavior crimes with people with Sammy Vega tied to a campus intercampuses with further child sex offenders involved, identity theft clicks involved, tied to what is keeping a whole bunch of nations that don't like each other with their narratives, with what they call politics, everything, but they're in collusion, exploiting identity, the ground relationships, where they're just keeping that in collusion, criminal collusion. Originally, still, we need our American history. Every second, they're stealing our identities, lying about us, valuing how there's already database crimes against us, and they facilitate that from either youngest campuses on off its sustain. Not one that's trained. They, So we have Fox Connecticut News, WFSB, involved with dozens of names criminally, recorded, confessed. A whole bunch of evidence crimes, identity theft, database crimes, drug crime rolls with overt criminal enterprises. I wish you guys would just help me and follow mandated law, fix the fake news, and have WFSBs recorded going into people's houses and joining little kids with passion crimes, behavior crimes, making them cry, pretending it's about me because they lied to those kids about me and they're hiding their life progressions. They pretend I had relationships with doctors when I was a kid that never were. They did that when I was an adult too, because I caught them with a whole bunch of people tied to a Dylan guy. And a Phil Clow recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by a whole bunch of people associated with family members, a whole bunch of people with drug clicks, identity theft crimes, evidence crimes with overt criminal enterprises, a whole bunch of people associated with forensics, state forensics lab, state police, foreign and domestic police forms, and middle and psychology families, military, foreign and domestic, whole bunch of nations involved criminally, on and off the locations of campuses, on and off the locations of police departments, used criminally, recorded, uses of Facebook for the worst natures of crimes, all fact, cheap nature sustained, federal crimes, federal crime rolls. They're going to hurt. They keep hurting. Look at the basic correlation, discorrelation with what pretends it could speak for positive as science. Where they're not letting sequence shifts with areas, names forging and switching, like associated with real insidious ones with online tied to a Joe Aiello. Uses of Facebook crimes with Joe Aiello tied to a former mayor Gold and new mayors involved, and how they got involved with other methods and natures of crimes. So how they're appreciating recorded forced sustained child abuses, which is the same groups involved with elderly abuses simultaneously, with various natures of courts, various natures of police forms, recorded worse than incompetent. Not by accident, valuing what is private. You can value treatment you can't defend in us at the same time. I just remind. So all we have to do is admit reliefs. This is as a species. This is as a species. We have to admit reliefs, simultaneously understanding the even grouped how the nature of leaders are forced distinctly and non-distinctly. Child abuse, too. And simultaneously, not in other words, but you have to, in other words, not let free speech. Well, in other words, but while states and areas are all child abused, interbranches, intercampuses, roles, with a whole bunch of nations at once, sick. You can't pretend you're positive at once, and that's exploited. And that is exploited by a method that is keeping this the outcome that no one uses as real law as actual integrity. I'm not a lawyer, not peace form, not criminal. I want to stay that way, but you don't know what they do. They're recorded in a pattern associated with Justice Department, criminally foreign influenced. Washington, D.C., criminally foreign influenced. Roles to what they call jobs, value systems with through criminal foreign influence, through with delusions, as styles recorded valuing sick, what is manifest, in other words, in relationship to their roles with the overt criminal enterprises and their of various nations, their uses of identity. In other words, is on a whole bunch of levels at once. So while we have to do this in every nation at once. Pantheism, they're obfuscating what it was about, which is about why the name is hollow. Hallowed be thy name, Jesus, which energy is hollow. This is temporary positive, temporary / lasting, positive or negative, in relationship to one identity's identity of relationship to itself. That Jesus Christ is about the Trinity inside the 5 semi-natures that are filling this nature of volume that does not leak. Once the bond to matter goes, that's it. It's self-generating. It's the bonded extent that positive and negative can be simultaneously, distinctly, non-distinctly, and all together. That identity of relationship to itself is before them while being the value of the identity of relationship that the smallest thing has to itself. So 2 dots next to it on each side. 5 things. Boxing, algebraic consciousness, YouTuber Anthony Wall. Intercampuses is an organized crime method against each person of the human fact treatment nature. To overcome this as this fact treatment nature illness, we must sustain counterpositions. We must stay and prepare for and set up means to have received simultaneous natures of reliefs. So we have to use the cartoon value nature system to enter the real one, to show, where mandated law. If you use science, it's not being allowed where and how we need it used the most. For what is furthering the overt criminal enterprises the most, which is a sequence shift organized crime method role with evidence reception tied to uses and identity of relationship to the grounds, all as criminal insidious nature, fake positive, whereas and how it comes down to what exploits that, and or keeps all conformed to opinions, quality of fact, cheap nature, pseudo positive, when someone preventing free speech. That's why I'm needing to bring up these things that are in the background, lying about, plotting about, against, recorded. Same people pretending that people have conspiracy theories. We have not just by accident, a whole bunch of natures of courts and of cases, fact cheating natures originally. Still, you can't defend that and tell American history and just even stand it being told. Criminal uses of each nature of the department on campuses. Can't teach about sense and sensibilities. I don't even want to read it until mandated law is followed. Can't teach about Harriet Beecher Stowe till this identity of the ground is admitted. Criminally and undiscerned. How criminally foreign influence, but not through one. This fact treatment nature illness that humanity suffers from is our nature of volume ties to the ground. I'll gather round. One identity has a value relationship to itself, to the nature, the rest of nature has no criminal foreign influences. It only gains. The nature of volume, that is forever nature, that is also positive onto itself, to the a little bit more of the semi nature of the complete nature that is coming into and as temporary slash lasting value nature's identity of evolution, and or as the identity that pushes our value from here, Leith of Hades. That's what modern value nature systems do. They invested everyone to positive treatments, all victim predator. Forgiveness is to emit a quality of fact treatment nature that is using how our identity of the relationship to the ground ties to our fact treatment nature is as criminal and this nature. How correlation nature's value, how the value that is hollow to letter E in Jesus' name is not being led its course. Algebraic consciousness, letters A through Z. We are the complete nature of a relationship to itself as temporary positive. That is the top of the Z, or not. Then we're the bottom of the Z, pointing away from A through Z, Leith of Hades. A through Z is nature with no criminal foreign influences. From the top of the Z back to the A. Forever nature gaining volume. There's only what bonded matter, bonded the planets, and each identity of each planet onto itself. If they're all the same identity, why don't they look the same? Because one identity is the possession of forever nature and of space nature, distinctly and non distinctly. And that's how we can discern this. Allah's name was used to teach this, but it's also using the Quran in ways that are being obfuscated here and there. They're using states and areas in collusion with positive rackets, with fact treatment nature. They're not letting the sequence, nature, value conversation of the beginning of the Quran or the beginning of the Old Testament English have free speech. If you try to get mandated law followed online, these people are offensively pretending passions, emotions into religions. They're using each identity of the ground relationship criminally. What to blame for this is who denies it. They forge names, switch names, because they're caught now in a pattern of crime method against me. Not understanding roles. Forgiveness is for this. Need response. Leading up to and in the Trade Center attack context, they know they're pretending other. But if you get a whole bunch of people associated with a Scalora family involved with federal crimes, with judges retired and standing, with a whole bunch of cases, identity theft crime with them, sequence shift crimes with them, drug crimes with them, using that and lying to people. A whole bunch of people associated with Fred Grisette and with the police chief's family, involved with child sex offenders, even with the principal's school further, per online Facebook too. Then they lie about behavior sequence shifts. These are behavior crimes that they use everyone criminally, then because you can only describe it through how they use them. Then they pretend the differences about that, but they're hiding the other things and other people involved too. So then they say, "Oh, this person," no one's like, because they have everyone's sensibilities speaking through other people used criminally. Now that is necessary for me to talk, because each campus I went to made confessions and demonstrations tied to big houses in my area that 3 times the police didn't let me tell on, involved with a Dylan guy, involved with bad things. And not only did I'm going to tell them, they pretend I had conversations. I'm forging names, switching names. Foreign and domestic military facilitated the crimes together. They don't even understand. They just know they have federal crimes against me, mail crime rolls, identity theft crime acts rules, drug crime rules, saying people supposed to be against it, federal formal drug crime rules and overt drug crime rules, natures of drug crime rules, uses of it against each age of fact treatment nature, real sick natures of courts on and off the state judicial branch offices, like with men and women associated with a Faenza family, with a whole bunch of police identities, and then their family members get sucked in. Federal crimes, verbal, criminally foreign influence, verbal, physical delusions, like with the integrity of what FBI is, like with the integrity of CIA is. They know they recorded, confessed those things on Facebook. They know they made it worse by blocking it. These are worse than extortion because this is this is real bad. We have no leadership. We have them. We have to be able to report and demonstrate how we have individually grouped it together victims, but victim predator branches, child abused, raised to as gangs in collusion with the overt criminal enterprises, used and self-valued with areas and intercampuses and everything tied. Each identity, because time treatments are made and maintained valued criminally because there are people from the former director of the FBI down involved with a whole bunch of people involved directly and indirectly with child offenders, even women judges. So we have interbranch crime methods and roles, and these are people crimes with Russians. You know, I had nothing to do. I don't even know all their names. They repeated these things. This is they make confessions. Interbranch, all private tied to them, overt criminal enterprises, all sick and all databases tied. They sustain this. They sustain other people valuing database crimes and other insidious lies with that exploit how they keep each age and person of difference. In other words, each boy and girl is hurt sickly, distinctly, and non-distinctly per each age of fact treatment nature. That's why they have courts through time attaching people to fake locations, fake conversations and relationships to others, criminal uses of houses in town that aren't going to like themselves being brought up. I don't know them, but see, there were a whole bunch of people associated with Corone Brothers and with Fox Connecticut Rule, with Domain Brothers, with involved with crimes with judges retired and standing, with police forms retired and standing, with databases, drug crime rules, formal and informal, crimes with intersciences, crimes with databases, crimes with identity natures of identities have bonded with this, exploiting drugs in other ways, crimes with people that are associated with uses of stop and shop involved with this, uses of on off town line road, roles with many people associated with Mike Pandolf and CCSU with crimes with prosecutors and with judges and with their police forms, leading up to and in the trade center attack context, and then leading up to and in cases further recorded, and their crimes against mandate, valuing their roles with identity thefts, with a straight stream of roles with it, offensive evidence reception crimes, offensive influenced identity theft crime acts rules, sequence shift crime acts rules, fake news crime acts influences, on off Normandy Heights and New Britain, recorded, confessed, involved with foreign and domestic military families, further involved with the child offenders, with the other natures of things juxtaposed. These are also people criminally exploiting how they have types of crime that force types of reactions. And those types of reactions are being used by a crime method that is an organized crime method that we don't have one modern nation capable of defending their fact cheaping natures in relationship to each other and us from at the same time because they self-value value treatments, identity of value treatments. No, identity of value. Science is about the identities of value because it's about identities volume. This is volume science, pantheism, about the identity of volume. Allah's name is revealed. This is English is revealed to teach this. Reach. It's just one teach. So that's one knowledge.